The champagne flutes caught the light like tiny daggers. I watched them from across the ballroom, 100 glasses raised, waiting, 100 faces turned toward us, friends, family, colleagues, all of them dressed in their finest, gathered to celebrate 25 years of what they thought was a perfect marriage. David stood beside me at the head table, his hand resting on the small of my back, possessive, protective, the gesture of a devoted husband. I wanted to flinch away, but I didn't. I smiled instead, the smile I'd perfected over 2.5 decades, the one that said, "I'm so lucky, I'm so grateful, I'm so loved." The smile that was a lie. "Ladies and gentlemen," David said, his voice warm and confident. He'd always been good at public speaking, commanding a room, making people believe whatever he wanted them to believe. He tapped his butter knife against his glass. The crystal rang out, clear and bright. The room fell silent. "Thank you all for being here tonight," David continued. He squeezed my waist. I felt his fingers through the silk of my dress. Gold silk. He'd picked it out, said it made me look radiant. Now I knew why. Better photos for the divorce announcement. 25 years ago, I married the most incredible woman I've ever met. Murmurs of approval rippled through the crowd. Someone said, "Aw." My sister Carol dabbed at her eyes with a napkin. She'd always been emotional, always believed in fairy tales. I kept smiling. My hands were shaking. I clasped them together in front of me, pressing my palms together so hard my knuckles turned white. No one could see. The table blocked the view. The white tablecloth hid everything, just like I'd been hiding everything for 48 hours. "Sarah has been my partner," David said, "my best friend, the love of my life." He turned to look at me. His eyes were soft, tender, the same eyes that had looked at me on our wedding day, the same eyes that had watched our children being born, the same eyes that had lied to me for 3 years. I'd fallen in love with those eyes once, 25 years ago, when I was 28 and stupid, and believed that love meant something. She's supported me through everything, built a home with me, raised our children with grace and patience. She is, without question, the reason for any success I've ever achieved. More murmurs, more tears from Carol. David's boss, Richard, seated at table 3 with his wife, raised his glass. "Hear, hear!" The room echoed it. "Hear, hear!" The sound rolled over me like a wave. All these voices, all these people who had no idea what was really happening, what had been happening for years. I could feel the microphone in my hand, cold metal, heavy. The weight of it grounded me, kept me from floating away into panic. David had insisted I say a few words after his speech. "It'll mean so much to everyone," he'd said this morning while adjusting his tie in the mirror. 25 years. We should both mark the occasion. I'd agreed. Because 2 days ago, I'd found something. And tonight, I was going to make sure everyone else found it too. "And I know," David paused, looked out at the crowd. His parents were in the front row, his mother already crying. She'd worn lavender, her favorite color. She'd been so excited about tonight. 25 years, she'd gushed last week. "Sarah and David, You are such an inspiration. If only she knew. And I know that the next 25 years will be even better than the first. He turned to me, lifted his glass. The champagne caught the light from the chandelier overhead. This ballroom had cost $12,000 to rent. David had insisted on the best. Nothing but the best for my bride, he'd said. For the photos, for the performance, for the lie. To my beautiful wife, Sarah, I love you more today than I did the day we married. The room erupted in applause. 100 hands clapping. The sound bounced off the high ceilings, the marble floors, the tall windows overlooking the harbor. David leaned in, kissed me on the lips, soft, sweet, the kiss of a man who meant every word he just said. I kissed him back, tasted the champagne on his breath, the mint from the gum he'd chewed in the car on the way here, the lies that had been living in his mouth for 3 years. He pulled away, smiled at me. That private smile, the one he used to give me in bed, in quiet moments. The smile that used to make me feel safe. Now it made me feel sick. He handed me the microphone. Your turn, he whispered, still smiling, still playing the part. Don't make me look bad. It was supposed to be a joke. I took the microphone. The weight of it settled in my hand. Solid, real. The only real thing in this room full of performances. I looked out at the crowd, at the 100 faces watching me, waiting for me to say something touching, something that would make them cry and clap and toast to true love and happily ever after. I saw Carol, still crying. Happy tears. She'd told me last week that she envied my marriage. You and David are so solid, she'd said. I wish Tom and I had what you have. I saw David's parents, his mother beaming, his father proud. They'd always treated me like a daughter, always welcomed me into their family. I saw my children, Emma at table 2, 23 years old, wearing the blue dress I'd helped her pick out. Daniel, beside her, 21, uncomfortable in his suit. My babies, almost grown, about to have their entire world shattered. I saw Richard, David's boss, the man who'd promoted David twice in the last 5 years, who'd called him indispensable and the future of the firm. And I saw Melissa. Table 8, far enough from the head table to seem innocent, close enough to watch, to enjoy the show. Beautiful blonde Melissa, David's business partner. 34 years old, ambitious, smart, ruthless. She was wearing red, of course she was. She caught my eye, smiled, raised her glass slightly. The audacity. My brother Marcus was at table 5. He caught my eye too, gave me a small nod. He knew what was coming. I'd told him everything yesterday, played him the recordings, watched his face cycle through shock and rage and finally cold determination. You're sure you want to do this? He asked. In front of everyone? Yes. It's going to be brutal. For you? For the kids? I know. There's no going back after this. I know. He'd studied my face for a long moment. then nodded. Okay, I'll be there, front row. And he was. I turned back to David. He was still smiling at me, that soft, tender smile, waiting for me to say something sweet, something about love and partnership and growing old together. I raised the microphone to my lips. Thank you all for being here, I said. My voice was steady, calm, clear. It echoed through the ballroom just like David's had. Polite smiles, nods, champagne glasses held in waiting hands. David has such a way with words, doesn't he? Polite laughter, more nods.
He always knows exactly what to say. I paused, let the silence stretch, felt the room lean forward slightly, waiting. But I think you should hear what he says when no one is listening. David's smile faltered. Just for a second, a crack in the mask. Then it was back, but his eyes had changed. Shark now, alert, like an animal sensing danger. Sarah, he started. His voice was low. Just for me, a warning. I held up my hand, silencing him. The room shifted. I felt it, the mood changing. Confusion rippling through the crowd. Smiles fading, glasses lowering. I reached into my clutch. The small gold purse David had given me for Christmas. It matches your dress, he'd said. For the anniversary party. I pulled out his phone. David's face went white. What are you doing? He whispered. His hand reached for mine, trying to take the phone, trying to stop whatever was about to happen. I stepped back, out of his reach. The ballroom had gone completely silent now. No clinking glasses, no murmured conversations, no laughter. Just 100 pairs of eyes, all on me, all waiting. I looked at David one last time, saw the panic in his eyes, the calculation. He was trying to figure out what I knew, how much I'd heard, whether he could still control this. He couldn't. I turned to face the crowd, raised the microphone, and pressed play. 2 days earlier, Wednesday morning, the iPad chimed while I was making coffee. David's iPad, the one he kept on the kitchen counter for recipes and news articles, the one that was supposed to sync with his phone for work emails and calendar reminders. I almost ignored it. I was tired. I'd been up late the night before finishing the seating chart for the party, table assignments, dietary restrictions, making sure David's parents weren't near his Uncle Frank, who drank too much and told inappropriate jokes. The perfect wife, planning the perfect party. I poured water into the coffee maker and pressed start. The machine gurgled to life. The iPad chimed again. I picked it up, meaning to silence it, but the notification caught my eye. Voice memo, number 47, partnership discussion, 42 minutes? I frowned. David didn't usually record voice memos. He was old-fashioned that way, preferred handwritten notes in his leather-bound planner, the one he carried everywhere and never let me touch. Maybe it was a client meeting. Sometimes he recorded those for reference. I unlocked the iPad. His password was our anniversary, 06/19/1999. 25 years. I'd always thought it was sweet. The voice memo app was open, and there weren't just a few recordings. There were dozens, 47 to be exact, all dated within the last 6 months, all with vague corporate-sounding titles, business notes, project planning, strategy session,
Q2 review. The most recent one was from yesterday, Tuesday afternoon, 3:47 p.m. While I was at the florist, confirming the centerpieces for the party, I hesitated. These were probably work files, private, confidential, client information, but something in my gut twisted. Call it instinct. Call it the subconscious picking up on 1,000 tiny inconsistencies I'd been ignoring for months, years maybe. The way David had started putting a passcode on his phone 2 years ago. Security, he'd said. The firm requires it. The way he'd stopped letting me use his laptop. Work policy. Can't risk a data breach. The way he'd been staying late at the office 3 nights a week, coming home smelling like perfume he claimed was from the cleaning service. The way he'd looked at me last week when I'd suggested we renew our vows at the anniversary party. That flash of something in his eyes. Panic? Guilt? "That's a bit much, don't you think?" he'd said. "Let's just keep it simple." I filled it on the play button. The coffee maker beeped. Ready. I pressed play. Static. Then voices. David's voice filled my kitchen. "And that's why we have to wait until after the party. If I file before, her family will close ranks. They'll freeze the assets, get their lawyers involved. It'll be a nightmare." My heart stopped. File? A woman's laugh, light, flirtatious, familiar, though I couldn't place it immediately. "You're terrible," the woman said. "I'm strategic," David corrected. His voice was different, sharper, colder. This wasn't the David who kissed me goodbye every morning. This was someone else entirely. The estate is in her name, but Massachusetts law means I'm entitled to half in the divorce, plus alimony. She hasn't worked in 15 years. She's completely dependent on me. The coffee mug slipped from my hand. It hit the counter. Didn't break. Just rolled, spilling coffee across the granite. I didn't move to clean it up. I couldn't move. "What about the prenup?" the woman asked. Prenup? We'd signed one before we got married. David's father had insisted, protecting the family business. I had signed it without reading it carefully. I'd been in love. I'd trusted him. "Voided when we hit 20 years, David said. I could hear the smile in his voice. Satisfied. Smug. I had my lawyer check. We're at 25 now. Perfect timing. Another laugh. "You've really thought this through." "Of course I have. I've been planning this for 3 years, Mel." Mel. Melissa. His business partner. The woman he'd brought to our Christmas party. The woman I'd served dinner to. The woman who'd complimented my cooking and asked where I'd bought my dress. The woman who was sleeping with my husband. "What about the kids?" Melissa asked. "They're adults. They'll get over it. Besides, Sarah's always been the emotional one. She'll probably make a scene, play the victim. But people will see through it eventually. They always do. What if she fights you on the money?" "She won't. She's too scared of confrontation, too worried about what people will think. And honestly, she doesn't have the spine for a legal battle. She'll cave. Take whatever I offer her just to make it go away. And then we can finally be together." "Exactly. The party's Friday. We smile for the cameras, play happy couple one last time, get the photos out on social media, for posterity." He laughed. It was cruel, mean. "Then I file the papers Monday morning. By the time she realizes what's happening, it'll be too late." "I love you," Melissa said. "I know. I love you too. This time next month, we'll be in Cabo. Just you and me. No more pretending." The recording ended. 42 minutes. I'd only heard 90 seconds. I stood there in my kitchen, the kitchen I'd designed, with the marble counters David said were too expensive, the custom cabinets I'd fought for, the window over the sink where I'd watched my children play in the backyard, and I couldn't breathe. 3 years. He'd been planning to leave me for 3 years, while I'd been planning anniversary parties and family dinners and Christmas mornings. He'd been planning my destruction. The coffee continued to spread across the counter, dark, staining. I grabbed a towel, wiped it up mechanically. My hands were shaking so badly I had to try twice. Then I sat down at the kitchen table, and I clicked on another recording. This one was dated 3 months ago, July, right after our trip to Maine, the vacation David had suggested. Just the two of us, like old times. I thought he was being romantic. I pressed play. David's voice again. She's so trusting. It's almost pathetic. I mentioned needing to review our assets last week, and she just nodded, signed the papers I put in front of her, didn't ask a single question. What were the papers? Melissa asked. Transfer documents, moving money into accounts she doesn't know about. She literally signed away half our savings and didn't even read what she was signing. Does she know about the offshore account? God, no. She doesn't look at the finances, never has. She just spends the money I give her and assumes everything is fine. What if she finds out?
She won't. And even if she does, what's she gonna do? Divorce me? He laughed. That same cruel laugh. She's too scared of being alone. Too scared of what people will think. Her whole identity is wrapped up in being Mrs. David Morrison. Take that away, and she's nothing. I clicked another recording. And another. Each one was worse than the last. David mocking me, my appearance, my intelligence, my worth. She's let herself go. Haven't you noticed? She used to be beautiful. Now she's just tired, boring. When's the last time you had sex? I honestly can't remember. Maybe 6 months? I avoid it, make excuses. She probably thinks I have performance issues. He laughed. Little does she know I'm just saving my energy for you. Another recording. Her family thinks I'm this great guy. Her brother Marcus has no idea I've been siphoning money from the estate trust, the one her grandfather left her. She made me co-trustee 5 years ago. You're so good with money, honey. He mimicked my voice, made me sound stupid, naive. I've been skimming for years. Another. The kids'll be fine. Emma's already graduated. She barely talks to us anyway. And Daniel's too wrapped up in his own life to care. They'll probably side with me. Sarah's always been too soft with them, too emotional. I'm the one who set boundaries, taught them responsibility. Another. After the divorce, I'm thinking we should move. Maybe California. Start fresh. You can transfer your license. I'll set up a consulting firm. We'll be far away from Sarah's drama, far away from all of this. I listened to all 47 recordings. It took 3 hours. The coffee went cold. The sun moved across the kitchen floor. My phone buzzed twice with texts I didn't read. By the time I finished, I knew everything. Every lie, every theft, every cruel word he'd said about me when he thought no one was listening. I knew about the offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands, the shell companies, the money he'd been stealing from my family's estate, the estate my grandfather had built, that my parents had grown, that I'd inherited when my parents died. I knew he'd been forging my signature on documents, moving assets, preparing to leave me with nothing. I knew he'd told Melissa he loved her, that he'd never loved me, that marrying me had been strategic, access to my family's money, my social connections, my name. He knew he'd been planning to humiliate me, let me throw this big anniversary party, smile for the cameras, post the photos everywhere, then destroy me.
Make me look like the crazy ex-wife, the bitter woman who couldn't handle rejection, the gold digger who'd been living off of him for years when the truth was the exact opposite. I sat at that kitchen table with David's iPad in my hands, and I made a decision. I called Marcus. He answered on the second ring. "Hey, what's up? Everything okay with the party planning? Can you come over?" My voice sounded strange, flat. "David's at the office." Silence. Then, "Sarah, what's wrong? I need you to come over, now." "I'm on my way." He lived 20 minutes away. He made it in 15. I heard his car in the driveway, the front door opening. "Sarah?" "Kitchen." He found me still sitting at the table. I hadn't moved. The iPad was in front of me. The screen had gone dark. Marcus took one look at my face and sat down. "What happened?" I slid the iPad across the table. "Listen." I watched his face as the recordings played, watched him go through the same progression I had: confusion, disbelief, anger, rage. When the first recording ended, he looked at me. "How many of these are there?" 47. "Jesus Christ," he rubbed his face with both hands. Took a breath. Okay, we need to call a lawyer. Document everything, get ahead of this before I'm going to play them at the party. Marcus stopped, stared at me. "What?" "The anniversary party, Friday night. I'm going to play these recordings, in front of everyone." "Sarah!" "He was planning to humiliate me," I said. My voice was still flat, calm, like I was talking about someone else's life. "Use the party as a photo op, then file for divorce on Monday. Make me look like the crazy ex-wife, the bitter woman who couldn't handle rejection, the gold digger who'd been living off of him for years when the truth was the exact opposite. So don't give him the chance. Call a lawyer now. File first. Take control of the narrative." "No." I met his eyes. "I want everyone to know what he is. His parents, his boss, his friends, everyone who thinks we're this perfect couple. Everyone who thinks he's perfect. You'll humiliate yourself too. I don't care. The kids, they'll deserve to know the truth about their father." Marcus was quiet for a long moment. "You're sure about this?" "Yes. It's going to be brutal. People are going to talk. It's going to be everywhere. Social media, your friends, the club. Let them talk." He studied my face, looking for doubt, for hesitation. He wouldn't find any. "Okay," he finally said. "Then I'll be there. Front row. And if he tries to stop you, he goes through me first." I nodded. Marcus stood. "I'm going to call my lawyer, get advice on how to protect the estate, the trust, all of it. We'll freeze him out before he knows what hit him." "Thank you." He squeezed my shoulder. "He's a dead man, Sarah. You know that, right? Not literally, but socially, professionally, after this?" He shook his head. "He's done." After Marcus left, I sat there for a while longer. Then I stood up, washed my coffee mug, put it away, and I started planning. Not the party. The party was already planned. Invitations sent, caterers hired, flowers ordered. I started planning his destruction. The anniversary. Chapter 3. The toast. Back to the party. Friday night. David's voice filled the ballroom. And that's why we have to wait until after the party. If I file before, her family will close ranks. The effect was instantaneous. The murmur of confused whispers died. Champagne glasses froze halfway to their lips. Someone's fork clattered against a plate. 100 people, all of them listening to my husband plan my destruction. I stood there, holding his phone up to the microphone, watching their faces change. David lunged for me. "Sarah, stop!" I stepped back, kept the phone out of his reach. The recording continued. "But if we do it after, once the photos are out, once everyone's seen us playing happy couple..." Melissa's laugh, crystal clear through the sound system. "You're terrible." Someone gasped. I saw heads turning toward table 8, toward Melissa. She'd gone pale, frozen in her chair like a deer in the headlights. "I'm strategic," David's voice continued.
David's mother stood up. "What is this? David, what is she—" "Mom, just—" David's face was red now, panicked. "This is—" taken out of context. Quiet. His father's voice, sharp, commanding, the voice that had built a successful law practice, the voice that didn't tolerate lies. The recording played on. What about the prenup? Voided when we hit 20. I had my lawyer check. We're at 25 now. Perfect timing. A collective intake of breath. People were standing up now, moving closer, pulling out their phones. No. They were recording David being recorded. This was going to be everywhere by morning. Good. "And then we can finally be together," Melissa's voice purred. All eyes swiveled to table 8. Melissa tried to stand, tried to leave, but the couple next to her, the Hendersons, our neighbors, blocked her path. "Sit down," Mrs. Henderson said coldly. "I think we all need to hear this." Melissa sat. "Exactly," David's voice continued. "The party's Friday. We smile for the cameras, play happy couple one last time." The ballroom was completely silent now, except for the recording. Even the waitstaff had stopped moving, frozen against the walls, watching. Get the photos out on social media, for posterity. He laughed, that cruel laugh I'd listened to 47 times over the past 2 days. David made another grab for the phone. This time he caught my wrist. "Give it to me, now." His voice was low, dangerous, a tone I'd never heard before. Marcus was out of his seat, moving fast. He grabbed David's arm, twisted it back. Not hard enough to hurt, just hard enough to make him let go. "Touch her again," Marcus said quietly, "or I'll break it." David jerked free, but he didn't try for the phone again. The recording was still playing. What about the kids? I saw Emma stand up at table 2. Her face was white. Daniel was gripping the edge of the table so hard his knuckles had gone bloodless. "Dad?" Her voice broke on the word. David turned toward her, reached out. "Emma, sweetheart, that's not— I didn't mean—" "Don't." Emma's voice was sharp, hard. "Don't you dare." She grabbed her purse, looked at Daniel, relieving. Daniel stood immediately. He didn't look at David, didn't say a word. They walked out. My babies. 23 and 21, old enough to understand, old enough to be devastated.
I watched them go. Felt something crack in my chest. But I didn't stop the recording. "What if she finds out about the money?" Melissa's voice asked. "He won't. She doesn't look at the finances. Never has. I could be moving millions, and she'd never notice." Richard stood up. David's boss, the man who'd promoted him, trusted him, made him a partner. "You've been embezzling?" Richard's voice was ice. "No, Richard, that's personal money, not—" "We'll see." Richard pulled out his phone, started typing. "I'm calling the firm's attorneys. Tonight. If you've been moving client funds—" "I haven't." David's voice was desperate now. "I swear I haven't touched client money." "But you've been stealing from your wife." Richard's face was hard, disgusted. "From your wife's family trust, which makes you a thief. And I don't employ thieves." "Richard, please." "You're done. Don't bother coming in Monday. Security will box up your office." Richard walked out. 3 people down. 97 to go. I stopped the recording, set the phone down on the table. Picked up my champagne glass instead. "I'd like to make a toast," I said into the microphone. The room was in chaos now. People talking, phones out, filming. Melissa was crying at table 8. David's mother was crying in the front row. His father was sitting perfectly still, staring at his son like he was a stranger. But they all quieted when I spoke. 25 years ago,
I said. I married a man I thought I knew. I looked at David. He was breathing hard, his face red. His perfect hair mussed from running his hands through it. A man I trusted, a man I built a life with, a man I defended when people said we'd married too young, too fast. I raised my glass higher. Tonight, I learned exactly who that man really is. David opened his mouth, closed it. No words came out. He's a liar, I said, each word clear, deliberate. A thief. A man who spent 3 years planning to destroy me while I planned anniversary parties and family dinners. I turned to face the crowd. A man who called me pathetic, boring, weak. A man who stole from my family, who forged my signature, who built a secret life with another woman while I was raising his children. Melissa sobbed, loud, messy. No one looked at her with sympathy. So here's my toast, I said. To truth. To finding out who people are. Before it's too late. I paused. Oh, wait. I smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. It's already too late for you, David. I drank the champagne, the whole glass, let the bubbles burn down my throat. Then I set the glass down, pulled off my wedding ring. The diamond caught the light. 2 carats, platinum band. He'd propose with his grandmother's ring, a small sapphire. Sweet, meaningful. Then upgraded it on our 5th anniversary. You deserve the best, he'd said. He really meant, I need to look successful, need people to think I'm generous. I dropped the ring into his champagne glass. It sank to the bottom with a soft plink. The room was silent again. 25 years. Gone. Just like that. I looked at David one more time. You wanted me to make a scene, to play the victim. I smiled. Here's your scene, David. I hope it was worth it. I set the microphone down. The room exploded. The ballroom erupted into chaos. Voices overlapping, chairs scraping, the sharp click of high heels on marble as people rushed toward our table, toward David, toward the spectacle. Some were filming. I could see the phone screens glowing, recording, uploading, sharing. By tomorrow morning, this would be everywhere. David stood frozen, his mouth opening and closing like a fish drowning in air. His perfect suit suddenly looked too tight, his perfect hair disheveled from where he'd run his hands through it. He looked small. Pathetic. Exactly how he'd described me. His mother reached us first. Margaret Morrison,
elegant, dignified. The woman who welcomed me into her family 25 years ago, who held my hand when I had Emma, who called me my daughter. She wasn't crying anymore. Her face was stone. "Is it true?" she asked David. Her voice shook. "Tell me it's not true." "Mom, I can explain." "Is it true?" The entire room fell silent. David looked at his mother, then at his father, standing behind her, then at me. I raised an eyebrow. Waiting. It's complicated. Wrong answer. Margaret's hand moved so fast I almost didn't see it. The slap echoed through the ballroom. David's head snapped to the side. A red mark bloomed on his cheek. "You disgust me," Margaret whispered. "You raised better than this." She turned to me, took my hands in hers. "I'm so sorry, Sarah. She broke again. "I didn't know. I swear I didn't know." "I know. It's not your fault. 25 years. She was crying again now. "You gave him 25 years, and..." She couldn't finish. David's father stepped forward. Robert Morrison, retired judge, a man who'd spent 40 years upholding the law, who taught David about integrity, honor, duty. He looked at his son with something close to repulsion. "You will not contest the divorce," Robert said. His voice was quiet, but it carried. Everyone heard. "You will not fight her on the assets. You will give her everything she's entitled to and more." "Dad..." "I'm not finished." Robert's jaw tightened. "You've stolen from her family trust. You've betrayed every value I tried to instill in you. And you've humiliated this family in front of..." He looked around. "At the 100 witnesses. At the phone still recording. Everyone." He turned to me. "Sarah, whatever you need. Lawyers, support, testimony. You have it. All of it." "Thank you," I whispered. Robert took Margaret's arm. "We're leaving. Come on." They walked out. Dignified. Back straight. They didn't look at David. David watched them go. Something flickered across his face. Loss? Panic? Good. Carol rushed over next. My sister. Mascara streaming down her face. "Oh my God. Sarah. Oh my God." She threw her arms around me, squeezed so tight I could barely breathe. "I can't believe... How did you... Oh my God." "I'm okay," I said. "You're not okay. You can't be okay. 25 years and he..." She pulled back, looked at David. "You absolute bastard." "Carol, you don't understand." "I understand perfectly." Carol's voice was vicious. She'd always been protective of me. Always. "You're a liar and a cheat and a thief. And you're lucky Marcus is here, because if he wasn't, I'd..." Marcus put a hand on her shoulder. "Easy." Carol took a breath, but her eyes never left David. "You're pathetic. You know that?" Pathetic. She turned back to me. Come on, let's get you out of here. Not yet, I said. Sarah, there's more. I picked up David's phone again, scrolled through the recordings, found the one I wanted. David's face went from red to white. Sarah, please, don't. Why not? I looked at him, really looked at him. You said I didn't have the spine for a fight. You said I'd cave, take whatever you offered just to make it go away. I raised the microphone. Let's see if you were right. I pressed play. This recording was from 2 months ago, August, right after we'd had dinner with his parents. David's voice. I don't know how much longer I can keep this up. The pretending, the acting. It's exhausting. Melissa. Just a few more months, baby. Then it's over. Then we can be together for real. I know. It's just, sometimes I look at her and I feel nothing. No love, no affection, nothing. And I have to pretend I do. Pretend I care about her day, or her book club, or whatever mundane thing she's talking about. Melissa laughed. What does she even do all day? I honestly don't know. Plans parties, lunches with her sister. She's been talking about volunteering at some charity, like that's a real job. He scoffed. She has no idea what actual work looks like. She's been coasting on her family's money her entire life. My family's money. The money his firm had been managing. The money he'd been stealing. Someone in the crowd swore loud. David was looking around now, desperate, searching for allies. There were none. I mean, what does she contribute? David's voice continued. She cooks, she decorates, she plans parties. A trained monkey could do what she does. The recording played on. When's the last time she said something interesting? Something that made you think? Never, David said. I could hear the smile in his voice. She's intellectually lazy. Doesn't read anything more challenging than romance novels. Doesn't follow politics or business or anything meaningful. Our conversations are torture. I felt Carol's hand squeeze mine. After the divorce, I'm thinking we should travel. Europe, Asia, places you'd actually want to go, not the boring family trips Sarah probably makes you take. God, yes. No more historical tours, no more museums, no more pretending to care about art or culture, or whatever she thinks is important. I stopped the recording. The silence was absolute. I looked at David. I took you to 12 countries. I planned every trip around your interests, your schedule, what you wanted to see. He didn't respond. I read 3 newspapers every morning so I could discuss your work with you, so I could be interesting enough for your colleagues, smart enough for your clients. Still nothing. I raised your children. I managed your household. I supported your career. I stood beside you at every firm event, every client dinner, every charity gala. My voice was shaking now, not with sadness, with rage. And you called me a trained monkey? The room was so quiet I could hear my own heartbeat. David finally spoke. Sarah, I was venting. I didn't mean... Yes, you did. I cut him off. You meant every word. You've been thinking it for years. You just finally said it out loud. I scrolled to another recording. There's more, I said. Want to hear what you said about our wedding? Or how about the one where you laugh about forging my signature on legal documents? David's face crumpled. Please, Sarah, please don't. Why not? Because he broke. You're destroying me. No, David. I set the phone down, looked him in the eye. You destroyed yourself. I'm just making sure everyone knows it. Movement at table 8. Melissa was trying to leave, trying to slip away unnoticed. Stop, I said into the microphone. Melissa froze. I picked up the phone again, found another recording. This one's from last week, Tuesday, the day we went to the venue to finalize the party details. I pressed play. Melissa's voice. Are you seriously making her plan her own humiliation party? David laughed. I know. It's perfect though, right? She's so excited about it. Spend hours on Pinterest. Hours. You're evil. I'm efficient. One party, maximum impact. Everyone sees us happy. Then, boom, divorce. She looks crazy for not seeing it coming. I look like the victim of a suddenly unstable wife. What if she actually does get suspicious? She won't. She's too trusting, too stupid. I could probably tell him I'm cheating, and she'd find a way to rationalize it. Blame herself. Melissa's laugh. You're probably right. She seems like the type. Oh, she definitely is. Low self-esteem, desperate for approval. It's actually kind of sad. I stopped the recording, looked at Melissa. She was standing at her table, shaking, mascara ruined, red dress suddenly looking cheap, desperate. You knew, I said. You knew it all. You helped him plan it. Melissa's mouth opened. I didn't... You laughed. My voice was cold. You called me stupid, sad. You helped him steal from me. You helped him mock me. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Melissa looked at David, waiting for him to defend her, to say something. David looked away. She was on her own. Melissa stammered. It was just, we fell in love. These things happen. You can't help who you... I interrupted. You're 34 years old. You're a partner at his firm. You're not some naive girl who fell for a married man by accident. You pursued him. You helped him plan to destroy his wife. You laughed about it. Melissa's face was bright red now. You don't know what it's like. You don't know how he... I know exactly what he's like. I smiled. I've been married to him for 25 years, and in about a month, you'll know too. When he gets bored, when you're no longer exciting, when you're just the woman who ruined his life. Melissa's face went white, because that's what you'll be. Not his true love, not his soulmate, just the woman he threw everything away for. His career, his family, his reputation, all gone because of you. I paused. Let that sink in. Think he'll still want you then? Melissa grabbed her purse, ran, high heels clicking frantically across the marble, the door slamming behind her. Gone. David was still standing there, in the center of the ballroom, surrounded by 100 people who now knew exactly what he was. His friends, his colleagues, his family, all staring at him with disgust, disappointment, betrayal. Tom stepped forward, David's best friend, the man he'd been friends with since college. I don't know you, Tom said quietly. I thought I did, but I don't. He walked away. One by one, Others followed. Friends, neighbors, colleagues. Walking past David without a word, without a glance, until only a handful of people remained. Marcus, Carol, a few of my close friends, and David, standing alone in an empty ballroom, destroyed. David stood there for a long moment, alone in the center of the ballroom, the chandeliers still glittering overhead, the white roses still perfect on every table, the champagne glasses still half full, abandoned by guests who'd fled like the building was on fire. In a way, it was. His life, burning to the ground. I watched him, waited. He turned to face me. His eyes were different now. The panic had burned away. What remained was something darker, harder, dangerous. You really think you've won? His voice was low, controlled. You really think this is over? It is over, David. No. He took a step towards me. You've embarrassed me? Fine. You've turned people against me? Fine. But you haven't thought this through, Sarah. You never do. Marcus moved closer to me, protective. Back off. David ignored him, kept his eyes on me. You want a divorce? You'll get one. But it won't be clean. It won't be quick. I'll drag you through court for years. I'll fight you on every single asset, every piece of furniture, every dollar. You can try, I said calmly. I will do more than try. His voice was rising now. I'll make you look unstable, vindictive. I'll tell them you edited those recordings, took them out of context. I'll say you've been having mental health issues for years. Go ahead. I'll subpoena your medical records, your therapy notes. I'll find something. Everyone has something. David, Marcus warned. But David kept going, getting louder, more desperate. I'll make sure everyone knows you're the crazy one. The bitter wife who couldn't handle her husband moving on, who destroyed a good man's reputation because she was jealous and vindictive and... Stop talking. The voice came from the entrance. We all turned. A woman stood in the doorway. Mid-50s, dark suit, carrying a leather briefcase. She walked into the ballroom. Her heels clicked against the marble with authority. Mr. Morrison, she said, I'm Christine Reeves. I represent your wife. David's face went pale. Sarah hired a lawyer. 2 days ago, Christine said. The same day she discovered your recordings. We've been quite busy. She opened the folder, slid a document across the table. This is a restraining order. Temporary, but it will become permanent if you violate it. You're not to contact Mrs. Morrison except through legal counsel. You're not to approach her home. You're not to access any joint accounts. You can't. I can, and I did. Judge Harrison signed it 3 hours ago. Christine smiled. It was sharp, professional. He was quite interested in the recordings, actually, especially the parts about forged signatures and offshore accounts. David's mouth opened, closed. You've also been locked out of all joint bank accounts as of 6 p.m. tonight. Your personal accounts are under investigation by the IRS. They received an anonymous tip about unreported foreign assets. I watched David's face cycle through emotions. Shock, rage, fear. This is also for you. Christine continued. She pulled out another document. Divorce papers. Already filed. Mrs. Morrison is claiming fraud, embezzlement, and breach of fiduciary duty. She's seeking full ownership of the marital estate, restitution for stolen funds, and punitive damages. She can't prove any of that. We have 47 recordings of you confessing to all of it. We have bank records showing transfers to offshore accounts. We have forged documents with your signature. We have testimony from a forensic accountant who's been reviewing your files for the past 48 hours. She closed the folder. You're done, Mr. Morrison. The only question now is how much this is going to cost you. David looked at me. Really looked at me. I saw the moment it hit him. I hadn't been planning this for 2 days. I'd been planning it from the moment I heard the first recording. Every move calculated, every step deliberate. Just like he'd taught me. You set me up, he whispered. No, I said. You set yourself up. I just made sure you couldn't escape. David's hands curled into fists. You bitch. Marcus moved fast, stepped between us. Say that again. Move, David snarled. Make me? For a second, I thought David might actually swing. His whole body was trembling with rage, his face red, his jaw clenched. But Christine pulled out her phone. I'm recording this, Mr. Morrison. Any threat, any physical contact, and I'll have you arrested for violating the restraining order before you leave this building. David looked at her, at Marcus, at me. Then he grabbed his phone from the table. My phone, the one I'd been using to play his recordings. This is mine, he said. You had no right. Actually, Christine interrupted, that phone was used to commit fraud. It's evidence, and Mrs. Morrison legally acquired it as she had access to marital property. You'll get it back after the trial, in about 2 years. She held out her hand. David stared at her, at the phone, at me. Then he hurled it across the room. It hit the wall, shattered, pieces of glass and plastic scattering across the marble. There's your evidence, he spat. Christine smiled. We made 17 copies, including one we delivered to the FBI this afternoon. David's face went from red to white. FBI? Wire fraud, tax evasion, conspiracy. They're very interested in your offshore accounts, Mr. Morrison. Apparently, moving money to the Cayman Islands without reporting it is illegal. Who knew? She picked up her briefcase. You'll be hearing from them. Probably Monday. I'd suggest you hire a criminal attorney. You're going to need one. She turned to me. Mrs. Morrison, my car is outside. Whenever you're ready. I looked at David one last time. This man I loved. This man I trusted. This man I'd given 25 years of my life to. He looked broken, shattered, like someone had taken everything he valued and burned it to ash. I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no regret, no anger. Just empty. Goodbye, David, I said. I walked toward the exit. Marcus and Carol fell into step beside me. Sarah! David's voice, desperate now. All the anger gone. Just panic. Sarah, please, we can fix this. I'll go to therapy. We'll work it out. I didn't stop walking. I love you, he called. I've always loved you. Everything I said. It was just, I was confused. I didn't mean any of it. I stopped, turned around. David was standing in the center of the ballroom, tears streaming down his face now, his perfect suit rumpled, his perfect hair a mess. He looked pathetic. He was pathetic. You're right, I said. You didn't mean any of it. Hope flickered across his face. You didn't mean the I love yous. You didn't mean the promises. You didn't mean the vows. You've been lying to me for 25 years, maybe longer, maybe from the very beginning. The hope died. But you meant every word in those recordings, every cruel comment, every laugh, every plan to destroy me. That was the truth, David. Maybe the only truth you've ever told. I turned back toward the door. Don't contact me again. Sarah, please. If you do, I'll play the rest of the recordings. All 47. I'll post them online. I'll send them to everyone you've ever known. Your clients, your college friends, your cousins, everyone. I looked at him over my shoulder. You wanted to humiliate me, to make me the pathetic, bitter ex-wife. I smiled. Careful what you wish for, David. You might just get it. I walked out. The cool night air hit my face. Fresh, clean. I took a deep breath. Behind me, I could still hear David calling my name, begging. I got into Christine's car. Marcus and Carol climbed into the back seat. The driver pulled away from the curb. I didn't look back. We drove to Marcus's house. Carol made tea. We sat in his living room. Me, Marcus, Carol, and Christine. The recordings are solid, Christine said. She was typing on her laptop, efficient, focused. We have him on fraud, theft, conspiracy. The criminal charges alone will tie him up for years. What about the divorce? I asked. Fast. He won't fight. He can't afford to, literally. She looked up at me. Between the legal fees for the criminal case and the frozen accounts, he's broke. Or he will be soon. Good, Marcus said. Christine continued. I'm recommending full restitution. Every dollar he stole from the trust, every fraudulent transfer, plus damages. You'll get the house, the estate, everything. What about his retirement, his pension from the firm? Gone. Richard's already started termination proceedings. When the firm finds out he was using their resources to commit fraud, using their letterhead to forge documents, they'll sue him too. I sipped my tea. It was chamomile. Carol knew I hated chamomile, but I drank it anyway. How long? I asked. The divorce? 6 months, maybe less. The criminal case? 2 years, maybe 3. Will he go to prison? Christine considered. Depends on what the FBI finds, but based on what we've given them, probably. White-collar prison, minimum security, but yes. I nodded. I should have felt something. Relief? Satisfaction? Victory. But I just felt tired. Sarah, Carol's voice was soft. Are you okay? No, I said honestly, but I will be. I set down my tea, looked at Christine. What happens now? Now? Christine closed her laptop. Now you go home, you rest, and on Monday, we start rebuilding your life. Marcus drove me home. The house was dark, empty. David's car was gone from the driveway. Christine had arranged for a locksmith, new locks, new alarm code, new everything. I walked inside. Everything looked the same. The furniture, the photos on the walls, the books on the shelves. But it felt different, smaller, emptier. I walked through the rooms, the living room where we'd hosted Christmas parties, the dining room where we'd celebrated birthdays, the kitchen where I'd found the recordings. I stopped in the doorway of David's office. His desk was neat, organized, everything in its place. I walked to his bookshelf, found the encyclopedia, volume 14, the one with the hollowed-out pages. I pulled it down, opened it, empty now. The burner phone gone, the storage unit key gone. Just empty pages, cut away, hidden, like everything else in our marriage, a lie wrapped in leather binding. I threw it in the trash. Then I went upstairs, to our bedroom, to the bed we'd shared for 25 years. I stripped off the gold silk dress, the one David had picked out, the one I'd worn to my own humiliation party. His humiliation party, I corrected mentally. I hung it in the closet. I'd never wear it again, never look at it again. But I wasn't ready to throw it away yet. Evidence, maybe. Or a reminder. I put on pajamas, washed my face, brushed my teeth. Normal things. Ordinary things. Things you do when your life hasn't just exploded. I climbed into bed, pulled the covers up. My phone buzzed. A text from Emma. Mom, are you okay? I'm so sorry I left. I should have stayed. I typed back. I'm fine, sweetheart. Get some rest. We'll talk tomorrow. Another text, from Daniel this time. I'm never speaking to him again, just so you know. That's between you and your father, but I love you. More texts, from friends, from family, from people I hadn't spoken to in years, all saying the same thing. I'm so sorry. I had no idea. How can I help? I turned off my phone, lay in the darkness, and for the first time in 48 hours, I cried. Not for David, not for our marriage, not even for the 25 years I'd lost. I cried for the woman I'd been this morning, the woman who believed her husband loved her, who planned anniversary parties and picked out gold dresses and thought her life was perfect. That woman was gone, and I was glad. 3 months later, February. The conference room was smaller than I expected. Pale gray walls, a long table, 6 chairs, a window overlooking downtown Boston where snow was falling in soft, lazy flakes. David sat across from me. He looked like a different person, thinner. His suit hung loose on his frame, not the tailored perfection he used to wear. This was off the rack, probably borrowed. His hair was graying at the temples. When had that happened? Had it always been there and I'd never noticed? Or had the past 3 months aged him a decade? His eyes were hollow, exhausted. Good. Christine sat beside me, crisp, professional, a folder open in front of her, the same folder she'd been carrying for 3 months, the one that contained David's entire destruction, documented in triplicate. David's lawyer, a public defender named Martinez, looked uncomfortable. He was young, maybe 30. This was probably the biggest case he'd ever handled, and he was losing. Let's begin, Christine said. She slid a document across the table.
Final settlement agreement. As negotiated. Martinez picked it up, scanned it. His expression didn't change, but I saw his jaw tighten. This is, he looked at David. Mr. Morrison, this leaves you with almost nothing. I know, David said. His voice was flat, dead. The house goes to Mrs. Morrison, the estate, all investment accounts. Your pension, what's left of it after the firm's lawsuit, is split, but she gets the larger share. You're paying restitution for the embezzled funds, plus damages, plus her legal fees. I know, David repeated. You'll be bankrupt within a year. I know. Martinez set down the document. I have to advise you. Just tell me where to sign. The lawyer hesitated, then pointed to the signature line. David picked up the pen. I watched his hand. It was shaking, just slightly, but enough that his signature came out jagged, unsteady. Not the confident scrawl I'd seen on birthday cards and mortgage documents and our marriage certificate 25 years ago. This was the signature of a broken man. He set down the pen. Christine collected the document, slid another across the table. This confirms the criminal plea agreement. You're pleading guilty to wire fraud and tax evasion.
You're pleading guilty to wire fraud and tax evasion. Sentencing is scheduled for March 15th. David signed it without reading. And this, Christine continued, is the restraining order. Permanent. You're not to contact Mrs. Morrison in any way, ever. Violation results in immediate arrest. David's hand paused over the paper. He looked up at me. It was the first time he'd made eye contact since we'd entered the room. Can I... His voice cracked. Can I say something? Just one thing? Christine looked at me, asking permission. I should have said no. Should have told him to sign and leave. Should have let the lawyers handle everything, just like Christine had been doing for 3 months. But I nodded. David took a breath. I'm sorry. 2 words. Simple. Inadequate. I waited for more. For an explanation. For excuses. For the speech he'd probably been rehearsing in his head for 3 months. But that was it. Just, I'm sorry. For what? I asked. My voice was calm, steady. David blinked. What? For what, specifically? I leaned forward. For the affair? For stealing from me? For planning to destroy me? For calling me pathetic and boring and stupid? For forging my signature? For the 3 years of lies? His mouth opened. Closed. Which part are you sorry for, David? He looked down at the table. All of it. No, you're not. His head snapped up. You're sorry you got caught. You're sorry you lost everything. You're sorry you're going to prison. But you're not sorry for what you did to me. That's not... If I hadn't found those recordings, you'd be in Cabo right now with Melissa. You'd have half my estate. You'd be living your dream life while I picked up the pieces of mine. David said nothing, because it was true. So, no, I don't accept your apology, because it's not real. And neither were you. I stood up. Christine gathered her papers. We're done here. We walked toward the door. Sarah? David's voice. Soft. Broken. I stopped. Didn't turn around. I did love you. In the beginning, I really did. I looked at him over my shoulder. Maybe you did, but you loved my money more. I walked out. Christine and I stood in the parking garage. Snow was falling harder now, blanketing the city in white. How do you feel? She asked. I don't know, I admitted. That's normal. It takes time. How much time? She smiled. As much as you need. My phone buzzed. A text from Emma. "Is it done?" "Yes," I typed back. "It's done." Another text. "Good. Sunday dinner at my place. Daniel's coming, Marcus and Carol too. I'll be there." Christine walked me to my car. My car. Not the one David and I had shared. I'd bought this one last month. A Tesla. Something I'd always wanted, but David had said was too flashy. I loved it. "What's next for you?" Christine asked as I unlocked the door. "I don't know," I said. "I've been Mrs. David Morrison for so long, I'm not sure who Sarah is without him." "Then I guess you get to find out." I climbed into the car, sat there for a moment with my hands on the wheel. 25 years of marriage, 3 months of divorce proceedings, and now it was over. I drove home through the snow. The house was quiet when I got there. No David, no footsteps, no voice calling from the office. Just silence. For the first 3 weeks after he'd left, the silence was unbearable, suffocating. I'd turn on the TV just for background noise, called Carol every night just to hear another human voice. But now the silence felt like peace. I made myself dinner. Pasta carbonara. David had hated carbonara. Said it was too rich, too heavy. I'd stopped making it years ago. Tonight, I made a huge pot of it, ate it at the kitchen counter while reading a book. A romance novel. The kind David had mocked me for reading. It was wonderful. After dinner, I opened my laptop. 6 weeks ago, I'd started writing. Just for myself, processing everything that had happened. The recordings, the party, the divorce. It had started as therapy, a way to make sense of the wreckage. But then something had shifted. The story had taken on a life of its own, and I realized other women needed to hear this. Women who were being lied to, manipulated, stolen from. Women who felt trapped in their marriages because they didn't know how to get out. I'd written 200 pages so far. A memoir. Raw, honest, unflinching. And last week, I'd done something crazy. I'd sent it to a literary agent. I opened my email. 3 new messages. The first was from my accountant, confirming the estate funds had been transferred back into my name. All of them. Plus the restitution from David. Plus damages. I was wealthy. Independently. Completely. The second email was from Emma. "So proud of you. Mom. Love you." The third was from someone named Rachel Winters. Subject: Your manuscript. Request for full. My heart stopped. I opened it. "Dear Mrs. Morrison, I read your sample chapters last night. I couldn't put them down. Your voice is powerful, honest, and deeply compelling. What you've been through and how you've handled it is extraordinary. I'd love to read the full manuscript. I have several publishers in mind who would be very interested in your story. Strong female memoir is having a moment, and yours is exactly what readers are looking for. Please send the full manuscript at your earliest convenience. Best, Rachel Winters, Winters Literary Agency." I read it 3 times. Then I started laughing. Not polite laughter, not the practiced sound I'd perfected over 25 years of being Mrs. David Morrison. Real laughter, loud, messy, uncontrolled. David had called me intellectually lazy, said I'd never done anything meaningful. And now, I was writing a book that might actually get published, A book that would tell the world exactly who David Morrison really was. I opened the manuscript file, started typing. The words flowed, fast, urgent, true. I wrote for 3 hours straight. Sunday came. I drove to Emma's apartment. She lived in Cambridge now. A small 1-bedroom she'd decorate herself. Art on the walls, plants on every surface. It looked like her, felt like her. Nothing like the house she'd grown up in. Daniel was already there when I arrived. He hugged me, tight, didn't let go for a long moment. "You okay?" he whispered. "Yeah, I really am." Marcus and Carol arrived with wine and dessert. We crowded into Emma's tiny kitchen, cooked together, laughed together. No one mentioned David. No one needed to. Over dinner, Emma said, "So, Mom, Rachel called me." I looked up from my pasta. "What?" "Rachel Winters. Your agent. Well, potential agent. She's my friend's cousin. She told me she loved your chapters." Emma. "And I told her she should absolutely sign you because you're brilliant and your story is important and the world needs to hear it." Carol raised her glass. "Here's to Sarah, author, survivor, badass." "Badass," Marcus echoed. We clinked glasses. I looked around the table, at my children, my brother, my sister, the people who'd stood by me, who'd believed me, who'd helped me destroy the man who tried to destroy me. "Thank you," I said. My voice was thick. "All of you. I couldn't have—" "Stop," Emma interrupted. "You did this. You found the recordings. You made the plan. You executed it perfectly. We just showed up." "You did more than show up." "Okay, yes. Marcus
punched Dad. That was pretty great." We all laughed. Daniel raised his glass. "To Mom, for being the scariest person I know, in the best way." "Scariest?" I protested. "Mom, you publicly destroyed a man in front of 100 people. That's legitimately terrifying. I'm never crossing you." More laughter. We ate, we drank, we talked about everything except the past 3 months. Emma's new job, Daniel's girlfriend, Marcus's vacation plans, Carol's book club. Normal things, family things, the things I'd almost lost. Around 10 p.m., I stood to leave. Emma walked me to the door. "Mom," she said quietly, "can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Do you regret it? The party, the recordings, all of it?" I thought about it, really thought about it. "No," I said finally, "I don't." "Not even a little?" He was going to destroy me, Emma. Quietly, efficiently. He'd been planning it for years. He would have taken everything, made me look crazy, made me doubt myself. I touched her face. I just made sure everyone knew the truth before he could bury it. Emma hugged me. Good, because it was pretty epic. I laughed. Epic. That's one word for it. I drove home through the quiet streets. Snow was still falling. The city looked clean, fresh, new. Back at the house, I made tea, the good kind this time, Earl Grey, my favorite. I opened my laptop, found the email from Rachel Winters, and I hit reply. Dear Rachel, thank you for your interest in my manuscript. I've attached the full version, all 87,000 words.
It's the story of how I discovered my husband had been planning to destroy me for 3 years and how I destroyed him first. I hope you enjoy it. Best, Sarah Morrison. I attached the file, hovered over the send button for just a moment. Then I clicked it. The email whooshed away, and I smiled. 1 year later, the bookstore was packed. Standing room only, people lined up around the block, cameras flashing, questions being shouted. My publicist, Jennifer, efficient and terrifying, guided me to the signing table. The book was displayed everywhere, stacked on tables, featured in the window. The covers showed a broken wedding ring on a white background. Simple, powerful. The title, The Anniversary, How I Discovered My Husband's Plan to Destroy Me and Destroyed Him First, by Sarah Morrison. My name right there on the cover. The book had been out for 2 weeks. It was already on the New York Times bestseller list, number 3, climbing fast. The reviews had been overwhelming. A gripping, unflinching look at betrayal and revenge. Morrison's voice is sharp, honest, and deeply compelling. Required reading for anyone who's ever felt powerless in a relationship. Women had been reaching out, hundreds of them, thousands, sharing their own stories, their own betrayals, their own fights. I picked up the first book, opened it to the title page. A woman stood in front of me, 40-something, wearing a wedding ring. "Thank you," she said. Her eyes were wet. "Your book, it helped me see. He's been lying to me for years, and I was too scared to admit it, but after reading your story..." She didn't finish. She didn't need to. "You're going to be okay," I told her. "I know, because of you." I signed her book. One after another they came. Women, men, young, old, all with their own stories, their own betrayals, their own fights. I signed for 3 hours. When the line finally ended, Jennifer handed me my coat. "Great job. The publisher is thrilled. They want to talk about book 2. "Book 2? Your story isn't over, Sarah. People want to know what happens next, how you rebuild, how you moved on." I thought about it, about the past year, the therapy, the writing, the slow, painful process of figuring out who I was without David, about the new friends I'd made, the hobbies I'd rediscovered, the woman I was becoming. "Maybe," I said. "Let me think about it." I walked out of the bookstore into the cool evening air. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I almost deleted it, but something made me open it. "I read your book." My blood ran cold. "David, you made me sound like a monster." I stared at the screen. 3 dots appeared. He was typing. But I guess I was. The dots disappeared. Then, "Congratulations, you won." I blocked the number, slipped my phone back into my pocket, and I walked to my car. David was right. I had won. Not because I'd destroyed him, not because I'd written a best-selling book, not because I had money and freedom and a future. I'd won because I'd saved myself, and that was enough. I drove home. The house, my house, was warm when I walked in. Lights on, music playing softly. I'd redecorated over the summer. New furniture, new paint, new everything. Nothing remained of David, nothing of our 25 years together. This was mine, all mine. I poured a glass of wine, the expensive kind, the kind David used to save for special occasions. Every day was a special occasion now. I walked out to the back porch. The estate stretched out before me, rolling hills, ancient trees, the land my great-grandfather had bought 100 years ago. My land, my legacy, my future. I raised my glass to the darkening sky. To new beginnings, I said aloud. The wind wrestled through the trees, like an answer, like agreement. I drank. And for the first time in 26 years, I felt completely, perfectly free.